Thursday was one of the more interesting days in New Zealand thoroughbred history. We all popped along to the Claudelands Event Centre where Winston Peters unveiled the Messara report. I don't think there was too much in it, fellas, that anybody thought, OK, that really stunned me. I didn't expect to hear that. The most obvious thing which shocked us was the 20 track closures mooted. We'll get back to that later on. Winston Peters provided the emphasis and he said to people, this is going to happen. And let's get right to the start of this, first of all. We need change. Yep. There's no doubt about that. Everybody knows we need change. And we owe John Messara a debt of gratitude. He has taken time out of his life to come here and make these suggestions. And most of them are very, very good. The technicalities of implementing some of these suggestions is going to be more difficult because everybody has a plan in life. We all have plans. And this is a very good plan by a very smart man. And having governmental support for it is important. But I do think, and Winston was quite honest about this, he said, we can't adopt this just carte blanche. We need to talk to people. Now, I spoke to Bernard Saundry, who is obviously, I think, the right man for the job from NZTR's point of view to implement some of these things. And he said, look, I agree. We're going to talk to some of these clubs. There's 20 clubs or tracks who have been listed to be closed. I'm suggesting they won't all be closed. No. Because the future venue plan, which is the three codes are undertaking at the moment, some of the tracks which John Messara said are to be closed are going to be left open under that. And how much pressure they come under to close some of these. Let's touch on some of the most obvious ones. Avondale is a debacle. The place is derelict and it's worth a lot of money. Now, Bruce, I've spoken to lawyers about this and people who understand how this works. This is a club. If they close the Avondale racetrack, the industry is supposing they are going to get, and for want of a better figure, the $200 million it's worth. Is that entirely true? Is it going to be that simple to say to the Avondale Jockey Club, well, you're closed, we sold your track, we're going to take you $200 million? Or as a club, can they not say, we're doing something else? We're going to get a harness racing licence. Or can they not apply to have a galloping licence to race at Pukekohe and say we're going to hold 10 races a year for 100k each? Is it that easy to annex someone else's $200 million?
No, I'd say no, but wouldn't that be a cynical approach in the current climate for a club to be doing that? Sure, you've got to have the to and fro between you've got to have the consultation, but at some point, sooner than later, there's got to be an agreement because what does Avondale do if it just carries on the way it's going?
I'm not arguing with the point. I'm just saying I'm not sure it's that easy. I mean, all you need is one legal challenge. And if you could upset somebody, and Avondale have raged against the dying of the light for an awfully long time. Yeah. And the place is derelict. It's got to go. There's no doubt about that. But can the club just stop existing? And I put that to Bernard.
Does that money become the industry money?
Well, I put that to Bernard Saundry, and he said, well, we just wouldn't give them a licence, which is fine. You don't have to give them a licence. But I don't think it's quite that easy. Let's get to Rotorua. Rotorua is a track which has 11 race meetings, is half owned by the iwi and half owned by the club itself. When I spoke to Andrew Bryant, their chairman, his attitude was, well, the people of Rotorua don't want this money going to race a tauranga, and that's fair. Because if I'm a local sponsor or if I've contributed and I've mowed the track and done all these other things. Now, I'm not trying to be negative about the suggestion, but the logic of it is, do we really think these things are going to happen, or do we think some clubs are going to roll over? Timaru, for example, have cash reserves. I'm stunned Timaru, the birthplace of Far Lap, is suggested to be closing down. It's a very good racetrack. And they are saying, well, what do we do with our cash reserves? Do we still hold race meetings at Rickenham? Because we don't want to hold race meetings at Rickenham.
So here's the question. So all these clubs have got massive cash reserves.
Well, some of them haven't.
Yeah.
Some of them only have the track.
The ones you're quoting. So what have they been doing with the cash reserves to help themselves in the last 5-10 years? And what have they been doing in the light of this day has been coming forever? You know, the reviews have started in 1970. Why are they sitting on $45 million in reserves or whatever?
The only club with that sort of money in the country is Ellerslie, and that's obviously not going to be closed. Now, there's a whole range of questions here and technicalities and legal aspects which are incredibly difficult to do. Now, the Te Rapa Te Ao Mutu thing there, where you see them closing, that's because of this Greenfields project. We're going to see this new racetrack built in Cambridge would there close and become part of that. That's a whole different story. That's 10 years away. Long story short, we put a range of questions to the man who deserves a lot of respect for at least caring, the Minister for Racing, Winston Peters, but he was also very honest. This is not going to be an easy report to implement, and he said the racing industry has to get behind it.